Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 6 of Young Justice, Infiltrator. We begin this episode on Infinity Island on August 7th, where Speedy, in a new costume, rescues Dr. Serling Roquette, voiced by Tara Strong, a scientist being held captive by a nefarious organization who have forced her to make something. Unfortunately, Speedy is only able to save either Dr. Roquette or whatever it is that she was making, and he chooses to save Dr. Roquette. Unfortunately, though, two of the members of the organization who captured Dr. Roquette, Sensei and Professor Oho, have confirmed with each other that Dr. Roquette had completed whatever it is they wanted her to complete. We then cut to Mount Justice on August 8th, where Robin, Aqualad, Superboy, and Miss Martian are all having some fun on the beach. Kid Flash is unable to join them because he is still in Central City. It's the first day of school there, and Kid Flash does not have a very good first day of school, to say the least. So he's more than happy to have fun on the beach with his teammates after school is over. And so he arrives at Mount Justice through Zeta Beam technology, but he trips when he tries to, shortly after he enters the cave, he trips and drops some of his beach items. And that's where he sees that there's another teen there who's dressed in a costume similar to Green Arrow's costume. And this new teen can't help but make fun at Kid Flash for his little for his awkward entrance. She introduces herself as Artemis, and she's a new member of the Young Justice team. And when questioning who she is, Green Arrow explains that she is his, as in Green Arrow's, new protege, and Kid Flash questions what about Speedy, and speak of Speedy, he arrives into the cave via Zeta Beam technology, but he clarifies that he goes under a new moniker now, Red Arrow, and Red Arrow does not take... he doesn't take it well when he sees that Green Arrow has a new protege. And while Green Arrow tries to explain it's because he understood that Red Arrow wanted to strike out on his own, they get to the matter at hand. Red Arrow tells everyone in the cave about Dr. Roquette and how he was able to save her, but he mentions that the device that she was forced to make is one that she calls the Fog, and it involves nanotechnology, and it's being used as a weapon by the organization that forced her to make it, the League of Shadows. The Fog is capable of stealing computer data, and it's also able to destroy buildings. It destroys the buildings of that holds the computer technology or the computer data that it stole from. And the League of Shadows, of course, want to use it for nefarious reasons. So Red Arrow mentions that Dr. Roquette is working on a virus to put a stop to the Fog, and Red Arrow has hidden Dr. Roquette in the Happy Harbor High School, and she's off the grid, so the League of Shadows don't know that she's there right now. And while Green Arrow tries to suggest that Red Arrow work with the Young Justice team, since he did bring the mission to them, And the other members of the Young Justice team do express interest in Red Arrow joining them on the team. Red Arrow declines and he leaves. And he also makes sure to update the computer so it gets his new moniker, Red Arrow, when he uses Zeta Beam technology in the future. So the Young Justice team are now at Happy Harbor High School, where they're guarding Dr. Roquette. Some are in the room with her, some are outside the high school. And Aqualad questions if Dr. Roquette can track the fog. She confirms that she can, but she'll have to go online to do so, which means the League of Shadows can track her location as well. Aqualad assures her that they will protect her, so she proceeds to do so. The fog is currently in Philadelphia with Professor Oho, and true enough, Dr. Roquette is now being tracked by Professor Oho, who confirms this to Sensei. Sensei decides that they should dispatch whoever is the closest to Happy Harbor to take care of Dr. Roquette. And with the knowledge of where the fog is, Aqualad instructs Superboy and Robin to head to Philadelphia to try and reclaim the fog, or to at least put a stop to the fog and stop the League of Shadows from there, so they can take care of two things at once. And after that happens, the League of Shadows member who is ordered to attack Dr. Roquette makes her move. She's wearing a Cheshire mask. Yeah, she's wearing a Cheshire mask over her face. And appropriately enough, her code name is Cheshire, and she's voiced by Kelly Hu. So Cheshire does manage to sneak into the high school, and she does try to attack Dr. Roquette. But thankfully, the Young Justice team members present are able to fight her off, so she's forced to retreat for the time being. And the Young Justice team figure that's not going to be the last they see of Cheshire, but they need to relocate into a new location so Dr. Roquette can continue to make the virus. Robin also reports that he and Superboy were too late. The fog had stolen data at Star Labs, and the Star Labs facility in Philadelphia has been destroyed afterwards. So the League of Shadows' next objective with the fog is the Philadelphia branch for Wayne Tech. And Robin realizes that means they could have data on the Batcave, or yeah, they could hack into the Batcave with the data found in Wayne Tech. So he makes a point to try and, yeah, they really gotta stop the fog this time around. So Superboy deals with Professor Oho while Robin actually enters the Wayne Tech Philadelphia branch to see what he can do about that. And they do relocate Dr. Roquette, the other Young Justice team members. They relocate Dr. Roquette to another area for her to work. And Cheshire does return with two more League of Shadow members with her, Black Spider and Hook. And they manage to... And so they try to... sneak in, and they try to fight them off, and it looks like, because there's more League of Shadow members, it looks like Dr. Roquette is doomed. But in reality, Dr. Roquette was actually Miss Martian in disguise. The real Dr. Roquette is in a nearby cafe to finish up the virus that she's making, with Aqualad still guarding her. Eventually, Cheshire pieces together, after the Rouge is up, after they find out that it was really Miss Martian, not the real Dr. Roquette, Cheshire goes out to find the real Dr. Roquette, while Hook and Black Spider deal with Kid Flash and Miss Martian. Artemis chases after Cheshire. Although Cheshire is able to get away from Artemis, and thanks to some of the technological devices in her mask, she's able to follow the footprints that lead to where Dr. Roquette really is. And she's able to fight off Aqualad for a while. Now, by the time she finishes off Aqualad and she's about to take care of Dr. Roquette, the virus is completed. So, yeah, the Fog is unsuccessful at stealing the data in Wayne Tech. And Cheshire mentions that she's lucky, Cheshire says that Dr. Roquette is lucky that Cheshire's orders were explicit about, there's no reason to finish off Dr. Roquette now that the whole reason that they were trying to, because the virus is complete, the whole reason why they were after Dr. Roquette is a moot point. And Cheshire adds that maybe the League of Shadows will have use for her in the future. So she says that Dr. Roquette should consider herself lucky, and she makes her escape. She's then stopped by Artemis, who manages to knock off her mask. And while so far, assuming that you're watching this episode for the first time and you haven't seen any of the following episodes, Cheshire's face doesn't look familiar to a new audience member, but to Artemis, she recognizes Cheshire's face, and she knows Cheshire from before. Cheshire says that, Cheshire figures that Artemis will take her in and that the rest of her teammates and maybe even the Justice League will interrogate her about all that she knows. This convinces Artemis to let Cheshire escape, and Cheshire does escape. Afterwards, Aqualad regains consciousness, and Kid Flash and Miss Martian arrive as well. And Artemis says that Cheshire managed to escape, and she didn't get a good look at her face because it was dark. But Aqualad says that they managed to protect Dr. Roquette, and they managed to successfully allow time for the virus to put a stop to the Fog. So Artemis was still a great help to them, and he welcomes her onto the team. And the others welcome her onto the team as well. Kid Flash a little begrudgingly on his part. So now it's August 9th, and using the Zeta Beam technology, Artemis arrives in Gotham City, but she can tell someone is waiting for her, and she demands that they step into the light. It turns out it's Red Arrow, who compliments Artemis for her skills, but he also reveals that he knows that Artemis is not Green Arrow's niece, as she and Green Arrow had both claimed. But at the same time, he recognizes that Batman and Green Arrow must have a reason for why they're using this cover story. So he assures Artemis that he won't be telling this to anyone else, but he warns her not to hurt his friends, or she will regret this. In an unspecified location, Sensei is reporting to the light. He confirms that they managed to get the data from Star Labs, but they couldn't obtain the data from Wayne Tech. The light member who speaks is L2, and he has a male voice as well. He acknowledges that the Young Justice team are becoming more of a nuisance, but he says that it's a good thing that they have an agent on the inside, and that's how we end the episode. Now, going by Greg Weisman's statements about how episodes 3 through 8 would each be dedicated to, would be a spotlight episode for Young Justice team members after the team was formed to give us a better understanding of each team member. In the case of episode 6, that Young Justice team member would be the newest member, Artemis. Now, Artemis is a character from the DC Comics, the main comics, but there is a big difference between this Artemis and her main comics counterpart. The main comics Artemis is actually a villain, while this Artemis is a hero instead. So this would be an example of adaptational heroism, where a character who is a villain in the source material is a hero in an adaptation, and the opposite is adaptational villainy. And Artemis here, yeah, she and Kid Flash don't get off on the, they don't have the best first impression of each other. And we do see that throughout the episode. They are arguing with each other quite a bit. Likewise, she isn't on the best of... She didn't have a good first impression with Red Arrow, Speedy's new moniker. And Red Arrow doesn't take it well that Green Arrow has a new protege. And otherwise, though, we do see that Red Arrow is a good guy, even if he is a little rough around the edges. I mean, he did rescue Dr. Roquette at the beginning of the episode, and he did make a point to tell Artemis not to hurt his friends. So we see that, yeah, Red Arrow does consider the other young heroes to be his friends, even if he is still unwilling to join them on the Young Justice team. But it's nice to see that Red Arrow is a good guy at heart, even if he, can be a bit hostile or confrontational at times. Otherwise, the League of Shadows, that's right, we should talk about them. The League of Shadows is another name for the organization that's led by Ra's al Ghul, one of the members of Batman's Rogues Gallery. So we now know that, the League of Shadows, and by extension Ra's al Ghul, are affiliated with the Light in some capacity. And one of the members in particular, Cheshire, there is something important about her, or she has a connection with Artemis, as we saw at near the end of the episode, and we will discuss that as we learn more about that. So we'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to it. But once again, this episode does a good job of planting the seeds for plot lines or storylines, whatever you want to call them. It plants the seeds for future events. And like I said, that's definitely a strength of Young Justice, in my mind. And the other big thing about this episode is it's mentioned at the end of the episode that there is a mole on the hero's side. They have they have an agent on the inside, and that's another big mystery regarding season 1 of Young Justice. It's not just who exactly are the members of the Light and what do they want exactly, but who is the mole? That's another big mystery, and we'll discuss more of that as we progress with discussing the episodes of Young Justice. Another thing I think I should talk about is how Kid Flash is back in school, but the rest of the Young Justice team aren't in school yet, because there were a lot of people that were confused about that. And so for the sake of those who may not be aware of it, different parts of the United States do start their school years at different times. So there are different regions that will start their school year differently. Like, to give you a frame of reference, the region I'm from, we start school in September and we end beginning of June. Whereas there are people I know who are in the central time zone, and when they were in school, they started school around the beginning of August, like Kid Flash did in this episode. But they finished up their school year around early May. So, just in case anyone didn't know that, that's the reason why Kid Flash was in school, but not the other members. The part of the area that Central City is in, that area of the United States just started their school year sooner than the other areas in the United States. So, just a little trivia for anyone who was curious about that. So, there we go. I thought this was a good introduction for Artemis, and it does, like I said, plants the seeds for things to come in the future, especially the mystery over who the mole is. And there we go for this particular video. Take care, and until next time.